These are the headlines we're following at this hour. South Korea's inflation accelerated in September, with consumer prices rising 3.7%, the biggest on-year increase in 5 months, pushed up by rising prices of gas and groceries. Authorities expect prices to stabilize from this month. Japan began releasing the second batch of Fukushima wastewater this morning. South Korea will send another team of experts to monitor the discharge, its third time to do so. Now at the Asian Games in Hangzhou, South Korean men's football team clinches its ticket to the final, defeating Uzbekistan. Team Korea also picked up its first gold in archery, along with more medals in high jump and wrestling. Good afternoon. We start with South Korea's inflation picking up pace. Last month, consumer prices rose 3.7%, marking the biggest on-year increase in 5 months, driven by high prices of oil and groceries. Authorities, however, expect prices to stabilize this month. Our Park Go-nu reports.
Consumer prices in South Korea saw their biggest jump in 5 months in September. According to Statistics Korea on Thursday, the Consumer Price Index, a key gauge of inflation, rose 3.7% year-on-year last month, mainly due to high prices for oil and agricultural products. The cost of petroleum products had dropped almost 26% on-year in July, but rising oil prices in recent months pushed the on-year drop to 4.9% in September, significantly affecting inflation. The CPI has been plunging since January this year, when the index was 5.2%, the highest in 2023, dropping as low as 2.3% in July. It rose to 3.4% in August, and again in September to 3.7%. Core inflation, excluding volatile food and energy price changes, also jumped 3.3% on year in September. At an emergency economy meeting in Seoul on Thursday, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho said that inflation will ease as seasonal factors such as heat and heavy rain are no longer a concern.
Along with slowing service sector prices, which are usually a major factor for inflation, and core inflation remaining at the 3% level, inflation is expected to stabilize from October.
He added that the ministry will do its very best to stabilize inflation amid uncertainties.
But as price uncertainty remains due to factors such as the recent volatility of oil costs, the government will remain on alert to try to address rising prices through all means.
Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
As economic uncertainties grow both at home and abroad, the South Korean government will strengthen efforts to boost the high-tech and maritime sectors. Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho said during an emergency economic meeting on Thursday that the government will invest more than $170 million by 2027 to develop key technologies and reduce carbon emissions to boost the maritime industry. Some key technologies include AI-based port operations and telehealth solutions for maritime workers. The government also plans to increase support for the chip industry by not only increasing investment in secondary batteries, but also by establishing separate safety standards to alleviate cost burdens. It will also ease regulations in the mobility sector that will allow for new technologies such as autonomous night buses and car parking robots to be implemented more quickly. Japan began releasing the second batch of Fukushima wastewater this morning. South Korea will send another team of experts to monitor discharge, its third time to do so. Bae Eun-ji has more.
Despite protests from neighboring countries, including South Korea and China, Japan has begun to discharge a second batch of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the sea. The South Korean government said that the plant operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company, began the process on Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Just like the first batch that was released from August 24th to September 11th, a total of about 7,800 tons of water will be heading into the Pacific Ocean. The process will take 17 days until October 23rd, meaning around 460 tons a day will be released. To address concerns, the South Korean government said Wednesday that it'll dispatch another team of experts from the Korea Institute of Nuclear Safety to Fukushima to monitor the release process. This will be the third time that South Korea is sending its own experts to Fukushima, after the two countries earlier agreed to have Korean experts regularly visit the IAEA field office there. And just like the previous two dispatches, the government said the team will visit the IAEA field office as well as facilities in the plant to make sure that the second batch is discharged properly. But it did not give further details, including when they will depart or how long they will stay in Japan. If all goes as planned, Japan will discharge about 2% of the wastewater stored in the Fukushima power plant by March next year. A total of 1.34 million tons of water, enough to fill 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools, will be discharged over the next 30 years. 배은지, Arirang News.
South Korea and Japan held vice-ministerial talks today here in Seoul as a follow-up to a historic leaders summit held in March. Seoul's first Vice Foreign Minister Chang Ho-jin and his Japanese counterpart Masataka Okano met at South Korea's foreign ministry, where they held a strategic dialogue. The talks appear to have focused on a wide range of areas such as bilateral relations as well as regional and international issues. It was the first meeting of its kind in 9 years, as talks have been halted since 2014 due to deteriorating relations. Seoul's foreign ministry said Thursday's meeting is expected to provide an opportunity to discuss ways to deepen Seoul-Tokyo cooperation, especially as relations between the two continue to improve. South Korea's defense ministry has sent out a warning to North Korea that it will face the end of its regime should it use its nuclear weapons, as Pyongyang reinforces itself as a nuclear power in its constitution. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
Seoul's defense ministry has warned that should North Korea use its nuclear weapons, this would bring about the end of its regime. Wednesday's warning comes after Pyongyang last week enshrined its status as a nuclear power in its constitution. The ministry said South Korea's military possesses a joint Seoul-Washington readiness posture that can overwhelmingly respond to any attack from North Korea. It added such threats to peace and stability will further isolate North Korea from the international community and worsen the suffering of its people. Pyongyang's constitutional amendment stated its ambition to advance its nuclear capabilities, reinforcing that denuclearization is not up for discussion. In fact, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un vowed to accelerate nuclear weapons production to deter, quote, U.S. provocations. The regime's state-run media reported on Wednesday that North Korea's defense ministry criticized the U.S. for describing the North as a persistent threat on its new strategy on countering weapons of mass destruction. It added that the world's biggest threat from weapons of mass destruction comes from none other than the U.S. The ministry accused Washington of increasing nuclear threats, referring to the joint military drills with South Korea and the deployment of its strategic nuclear submarine near the Korean peninsula. On that note, the North Korean military pledged to counter the U.S. military tactics with the most overwhelming and sustained response strategy. Though such a response from the North is not unusual, the latest exchanges come as there are growing concerns that North Korea and Russia are pushing for an arms deal. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Two Americans and a Russian scientist have won this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the discovery of quantum dots, which will help drive a revolution in nanotechnology. The announcement comes after the result was leaked prematurely. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences announced Wednesday that two Americans and a Russian scientist jointly won this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry for their discovery and synthesis of quantum dots.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the 2023 Nobel Prize in Chemistry in equal shares to Monje Bavendi, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, USA; Louise Bruce, Columbia University, USA; and Alexei Yekimov, Nanocrystals Technology Incorporated, USA, for the discovery and synthesis of quantum dots.
The three U.S.-based Nobel Prize laureates took the prize for their work with quantum dots, or tiny particles that are just a few atoms in diameter and whose electrons have constrained movement. Their work showed how they absorb and release visible light, allowing for very bright colors, ultimately contributing to numerous applications ranging from QLED screens to imaging in biochemistry, medicine, and much more. The dots emit different colors depending on their size, with larger dots shining red and smaller dots shining blue. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences also noted that the work with quantum dots will also allow for surgeons to find tumors more precisely, as the particles catalyze chemical reactions and their clear light can illuminate tumor tissue. The announcement of the winners was, however, leaked prematurely. Sweden's public broadcaster SVT said the Academy sent a press release by mistake early Wednesday that contained the names of the winners. The Academy says it's still unknown why the press release was sent early and expressed regret over the matter. Meanwhile, the three scientists share not only the top honors for their contribution to science, but also $990,000 in prize money. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The 2030 FIFA World Cup will be hosted across 3 continents for the first time as the tournament celebrates its 100th anniversary. An Sung-jin has more.
The 2030 Men's Football World Cup will see games played in 6 countries across 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and South America. FIFA announced on Thursday that Spain, Portugal, and Morocco will co-host the tournament, while Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay will stage the tournament's 3 opening games to mark 100 years since the first World Cup. Morocco and Portugal will take on hosting duties in the global tournament for the first time, while Spain last hosted in 1982.
With the African Cup of Nations and then the World Cup 2030 in Morocco, the country will prosper and more tourists and national teams from different countries will meet in Morocco.
It has been a discreet, constant, and hard work. It's a work of many months and years. Now we have an important task ahead of us, which is to meet the goals requested by FIFA.
It is the first time the World Cup will have games played across 3 continents. Uruguay especially holds significance in that the country hosted the inaugural World Cup final in 2030. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said the World Cup would unite the world while celebrating together the beautiful game.
In a divided world, FIFA and football are uniting, bringing everyone together, bringing football everywhere.
All 6 host nations automatically qualify for the 48-team tournament. Formal approval is set to be given next year at a meeting of the 211 FIFA member federations. FIFA also opened the bidding to countries wishing to host the World Cup in 2034. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
LG Energy Solution has struck a deal to supply Toyota Motor with $22 billion of lithium-ion batteries a year. The Korean battery supplier on Thursday announced that the agreement provides the Japanese automaker with 20 gigawatt-hours of high-nickel NCMA pouch-type battery cells and modules. That is enough to produce more than 250,000 electric vehicles a year. The contract is LG Energy Solutions' largest single supply agreement, excluding venture agreements. LG Energy Solutions plans to invest $3 billion in its Michigan battery plant facility to produce these batteries. The 2023 League of Legends World Championship anthem Gov't, performed by NewJeans, has been officially released. Game developer Riot Games announced on Wednesday the release of the music video for the anthem of the upcoming World Championship. The song was performed by K-pop girl group NewJeans and was written by Riot Games' principal composer Sebastian Najand and American music producer Alex Seaver, whose co-writing credits include past League of Legends tournament anthems. The music video tells the story of world champion player Kim Hyuk-gyun, known as Sept, from his discovery of League of Legends in high school to his unbelievable run at the 2022 World Championships. Now, for those movie lovers out there, it is time for the annual Busan Int'l Film Festival. The curtains went up last night for the 10-day event. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports from Busan.
For this week and next, South Korea's southern port city Busan transforms into a dazzling hub of cinematic celebration. The annual Busan International Film Festival raised its curtains with the opening ceremony on Wednesday. Actors and filmmakers from around the world graced the red carpet at the Busan Cinema Center. So the Busan International Film Festival, BIF as it's also known, is the first international film festival here in Korea and has also become the largest in Asia. Now this year, 209 films from 69 countries have been invited for official screening. This is slightly fewer than last year, mainly due to budget constraints and internal committee issues. But this downsizing did little to dampen the festivities. Korean actor Song Kang-ho, who won the Best Actor award at last year's Cannes Film Festival, welcomed guests at the opening ceremony. Adding to the star-studded lineup was Hong Kong actor Cho Yun-fat, attending to accept the Asian Filmmaker of the Year award. For the first time in BIF history, actress Park Eun-bin took the stage as the sole host for the opening ceremony. The opening film was Because I Hate Korea by Korean filmmaker Jang Gon-jae. The audience's excitement was palpable even before the ceremony began.
Because I'm a big fan of Parasite. It was my first Korean movie I saw in France in a theater, and I fell in love with Korean cinema.
I'm a huge fan of Chow Yun-fat's work, and I was really into Hong Kong movies last year. I can't wait to see him in person.
There's a variety of cinematic highlights throughout the 10-day festival. A special program titled Korean Diasporic Cinema will shed light on Korean-American actors, directors, and films such as Minari, Searching, and Past Lives. The inaugural edition of the Asia Contents Awards and Global OTT Awards is scheduled for Sunday. Its predecessor, the Asia Contents Awards, recognized TV and streaming service content only from Asia, but this year it expanded its award coverage worldwide. So, if you're in search of a movie-filled adventure, Busan welcomes you with open arms until October 13th. 송유진, Arirang News, Busan.
Now at the Asian Games in Hangzhou, South Korean men's football team clinches ticket to the final, defeating Uzbekistan. Team Korea also picked up its first gold in archery, along with more medals in high jump and wrestling. Our Matthew Ashley has the details.
We begin with football, where the South Korea's men's team is 90 minutes away from winning its third straight ASEAN gold medal after beating Uzbekistan 2-1 to advance to the final. The Taeguk Warriors drew first blood in Wednesday's semi-final with a goal by Stuttgart forward Jong Woo-young in just the first 5 minutes. But Uzbekistan came back to equalize from a free kick 20 minutes later. Jong regained the lead for South Korea just before half-time, though, with what would end up being the winning goal. The second half saw Uzbekistan reduced to 10 men after one player was sent off for a second yellow card. South Korea will come up against Japan in the final on Saturday at 9 p.m. Korea time. Over to athletics now, as South Korean high jumper Woo Sang-hyuk has clinched his second straight silver medal at the Asian Games. Woo jumped 2.33 meters on Wednesday to finish ahead of Japan's Tomohiro Shino, while three-time world champion Mutaz Barshim of Qatar claimed the gold. Woo cleared 2.33 meters on his second attempt, but the 27-year-old failed to get past 2.37 meters. Woo's result comes after a difficult season, battling heel problems and a sinus infection. In archery, South Korea picked up its first gold medal of this year's Asian Games in the recurve mixed team event on Wednesday, beating Japan in the final. Korean duo Im Si-hyun and Lee Woo-seok beat Japan's Satsuki Noda and Takaharu Furukawa by a score of 6-0. It's the Korean duo's first Korea ASEAN gold medal. The result marked Korea's second archery medal of the day, after So Chae-won and Ju Jae-hoon won silver just a few hours earlier, losing to India in the compound mixed team final. Meanwhile, both gold and silver will be up for grabs on Saturday in an all-Korean final in the women's individual recurve event between Ansan and Im Si-hyun. And finally, in wrestling, South Korea saw its first medal in the discipline after wrestling ace Jong Han-jae won bronze in the 60-kilogram Greco-Roman category. It's the 28-year-old's first ASEAN medal. He beat Islamkhon Bakhramov from Uzbekistan in the final by a score of 5-4. Greco-Roman wrestling is one of several forms of amateur competitive wrestling. This style forbids holds below the waist and emphasizes throws. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It was just a month ago we had frequent rain with high humidity and heat in the 30s, but just about a month later, it has become dry and crisp under sunshine. Well, after sudden downpours yesterday, the air has gotten even chillier, and many parts of the country had the chilliest temperatures of the season, dropping below the freezing mark on Seoraksan Mountain this morning. Unseasonably cool and blustery day ahead for us. Highs are also be about 4 degrees lower than yesterday. And then tomorrow we are waking up to another chilly morning. Plenty of sunshine with clear skies nationwide today. So as long as you dress warmly, it's a good day to spend some time outdoors. Seoul gets up to 19 degrees. Chuncheon, Gwangju at 20 degrees this afternoon. Now this time of year can be a roller coaster, so do dress accordingly and take good care of yourself. Temperatures will return to norms this weekend with rain in the forecast on Jeju, the south coast, and east of Gangwon-do province. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
With the prospects of higher for longer when it comes to U.S. interest rates, the more demanded U.S. dollar continues to rise against its peers, making King dollar even stronger. Then on Wednesday, it prompted the Korean won to hit its lowest of the year, ending at 1,363.51 per dollar. And on the previous day, the Japanese currency briefly sank to 150 yen per dollar, deemed as a threshold for government intervention. The weakened won can make exports more competitive, but it also raises debt and the prices of imported goods. And this high exchange rate adds to the burdens for the Korean economy, already struggling with other highs, such as interest rates and oil prices. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.